Hello and welcome to this video. We are Anne Devitt and Joanne Banks from the School of Education in Trinity College, Dublin in Ireland. This video is part of a European Union funded project called UDL-BOE, which is a 2-year study looking at teacher supports for UDL in a blended and online learning context. The project was funded in response to school closures during the COVID-19 pandemic, which were effectively the largest experiment in using technology for learning that the world has ever seen. Our project aims to help teachers deliver effective, engaging and inclusive learning experiences in a digital space using the Universal Design for Learning framework. The project is focused on secondary and second chance education in a digital context. We have 5 excellent project partners in this work, 2 universities and 3 schools. Trinity College Dublin are coordinating. In addition to Joanne and I, and Aveen Bray from the School of Education, we are working with our excellent colleagues from Learnovate, the Centre of Excellence for Educational Technology in TCD, and Trinity Access, the Widening Participation Programme in the university. In Spain, we are working with colleagues from the School of Education in the Universidad Autónoma de Madrid. In Ireland, our partner school is St Joseph's Secondary School in Rush, a public co-educational secondary school in North County Dublin. Our Belgian partner is CVO Vitant, a second chance school in Antwerp, working with adults returning to secondary education. Our partner in Athens, Greece, Elino Germaniki Agogi, is a private school encompassing early years, primary and secondary education, and a founding member of the European School Innovation Academy. All of our partner schools have a strong profile in collaborative research projects and networks in Europe. You will hear from students from all the school partners in this video. All 4 partner countries experienced school closures at various times between 2020 and 2021, where learners had to engage in their education remotely. This period has been called emergency remote schooling. Our goal for this video is to explore challenges and enablers to learning for young people during these periods of school closures. Often in the discussions about the impact of COVID on education, the voices of the learners themselves are absent, and this video brings the learners centre stage. I would like you to pause now for a moment and think back to that time when schools were closed and children and young people were learning in their homes. It was a challenging time for many of us. Now, imagine yourself as a teenager, but not in school, at home, and ask yourselves, when it comes to continuing to learn and to engage with learning during that time, what do you think was helpful? What do you think didn't help? And how do you think technology contributed in all of that? In this video, with these students, we explore what worked and what didn't during emergency remote schooling. The young people in the video were given a broad brief to talk about their experiences, their average day during remote schooling, and what they feel was useful during that time. In total, 16 students from our partner schools across 4 countries took part in the video. This is not a representative sample of all European young people, but it does give a snapshot of how young people experienced this difficult time. From Ireland, we have 7 students from St Joseph's in Rush. These students are in 4th year of secondary school, also called transition year, or TY as they call it in the video, and they had completed the junior cycle of the Irish secondary curriculum during lockdown in 2020. We hear from 2 students from EA in Greece, speaking in English. We have 3 students from secondary schools in Salamanca in Spain, sharing their experiences in Spanish. And finally, 4 adult learners from CVO Vitant in Antwerp in Belgium tell us in Dutch how they experienced school closures in Belgium. Joanne and I identified several themes in the student videos relating to barriers and enablers to their learning during lockdown, how students felt, what worked and what didn't. Here are some of the challenges. The first is the worries and uncertainties experienced by young people during lockdown. Then they described how they dealt with the change in workload and the pressures associated with that. We also hear about their challenges in dealing with structures that were not well designed for a remote schooling context. Students also talked about how they managed distractions while working from home, including working from their bedrooms and managing learning outside of the structured school environment. Some of the things that they found helpful, though, were having clear structures and routines. In particular about goals, when asked about what worked during this time, students emphasised the importance of clear learning goals and objectives. They also enjoyed having clarity around their timetables, what to do and when, and that this was suited to their environment. They talked about how they used this structure to manage their time and create a routine. Another important enabler was flexibility. Students really appreciated being allowed and enabled to progress at their own speed. Then there's the mode of how they engaged with learning. Students were offered lots of new ways to access information and seemed to enjoy the new modes offered to them. They talked about how engaging this was. They didn't lose out on class contact time because they could access or find the kinds of resources they needed in their own time. And finally, it was all about human contact. The high points described by students of their time during lockdown relate to contact that they had with others. They talked about how important communication with their teachers was during this time, but perhaps more importantly, it is the informal social contact with teachers and with their friends, facilitated by teachers and technology, that really kept them going. This highlights the value of informal and authentic contact where learning is online, and how a sense of community can be essential for engagement and learning. And now we can hand it over to the students to have their say in their own languages. Challenges, worries and uncertainty.
It was quite tough because there was a lot of uncertainty about the junior cert, what was going to happen if we keep classes going, how we'd do it, how would we be able to do it online, because Zoom was kind of unheard of before, for me anyway. And I don't know, it was kind of, you didn't know if you'd see your friends again or how long it'd be, years, months. We didn't really know.
Well, it was a bit overwhelming at first because I didn't understand how we were going to do all of that online stuff. And I'm not great with technology. Technology hates me. Everyone knows this. So I was kind of worried that, my iPad is going to break in the middle of a class. I'm going to lose so much of my data. So yeah, I was nervous at the beginning.
Definitely the especially in the first lockdown, the uncertainty around my junior cert, because I just didn't know if I was going to have one, and then do I study, do I not study, do I, but the hardest thing for me was definitely not being able to see my friends and staying inside and just not being able to mix with people. That was definitely the hardest for me.
I think because we were all used to it, we're kind of here we go again. But I suppose it was a completely different year. It was TY, so the workload wasn't as heavy. It wasn't as stressful, but I found it more isolating because we'd been through it before and you're getting tired of it and it's all the same. So that was probably more isolating. Trying to shut off was difficult because your home life became your school life. My bedroom became my classroom. So trying to kind of separate both things was difficult. So it was trying to once it came 4 o'clock, shut off from school, but that was sometimes difficult to do.
Well, I was in third year at the time, so I was doing the junior cert, and I was kind of a bit stressed because I was kind of worrying what was going to happen.
When the schools first closed due to COVID-19, most of us were really happy because we thought we would have more free time for ourselves and our family. However, it didn't turn out that way. As soon as the first week went by, difficulties appeared.
But initially, because we were doing junior cert, it was uncertainty about exams, and initially they said there'd be no exams, and then there'd be exams in September. So I think that raised a lot of anxiety within the year group, the uncertainty.
Challenges, workload.
I guess kind of try and keep up with the work because the day felt really fast and tiring as well. There was no break.
Pero había muchas tareas y a veces trabajaba incluso más que antes de la pandemia. Y a veces terminaba, yo qué sé, a las 9 cuando en el curso en el que estaba tampoco me hacía falta terminar tanto.
Well, I kind of just, a normal day would just be people not talking on a Zoom class, and then teachers giving us way too much work, and everyone would be trying to get it done by the end of class. And most of the time, you couldn't get it done in time. So
A lot of stress.
yeah, it was pretty stressful.
Yeah.
No se centró tanto se centró más en trabajos y cosas así. O sea, es decir, no teníamos que estudiar tanto como lo harías normalmente. Entonces nos mandaban trabajos de las diferentes asignaturas. Sí que es verdad que hubo asignaturas que las olvidamos y ya no tuve que hacer nada, pero otras que, pues eso. Seguíamos dando cosas y tal, pero eso, trabajos.
Also, the workload increased, especially in the first lockdown. So I found it hard to be able to keep on top of all my assignments, make sure I get everything submitted. I'd get up maybe probably around 9. I'd sleep in a little bit just because I didn't have to get up as early. And it was literally wake up and go onto Zoom calls for 5 or 6 hours. Sometimes we'd have study periods, so maybe an hour where we were meant to study, but usually I'd just take a break and have food or something. And then once school finished, I'd still have homework to do. So some days I would be sitting at my desk till 7 or 8 o'clock just doing work. And then I'd try to get out for a walk during the day just to get a bit of exercise.
No, más bien la saturación de trabajos, porque nos mandaban muchos trabajos. O sea, lo normal sería, pues eso, un trabajo a la semana de cada asignatura o lo que sea, porque tardabas varias horas en algunos trabajos. Entonces, claro, te mandaban de todas las asignaturas, casi todas, un trabajo por cada una, y a lo mejor tenías que entregarlo dentro de 2 días. Entonces, pues, la verdad es que trabajo bastante y tenía algunos días que estar por la mañana y por la tarde, cosa que no hacía ni estando en el colegio.
Via Moodle gewoon kregen wij die binnen. En ik moet wel zeggen, die duurde wel langer precies dan wanneer wij gewoon op school zaten. Als je hier in de klas zit, dan beginnen er al in de klas aan. Terwijl ja, als je dan thuis zit, moet je alles echt van 0 zelf beginnen. En ik had echt soms taken waar ik letterlijk 10, 11 uur aan bezig zat. Dus ik moest dat echt wel dan spreiden over de dagen voor dat af te krijgen.
The second lockdown, I didn't have as much work because I was in TY. But also I found that hard because I wasn't kept as busy. So sometimes I was quite bored because I wasn't allowed to go out and see my friends. And the hardest thing was just keeping on top of the work because it was so much at sometimes. Like trying to get it all done and then homework as well. It's just quite a lot.
Challenges. Missing or unclear structures.
Het was ook een moeilijke periode om terug over te schakelen van afstandsonderwijs naar contactonderwijs. En ik heb er nog steeds moeite mee. Nu probeer ik ook heel een tijd een soort van stramine te vinden om terug goed te werken op school. En vooral nu dat ik ook op kot zit, heeft het ook een beetje moeilijker gemaakt, omdat ik heb nu volledige vrijheid. Ik heb mijn ouders niet meer om achter mij te zitten van hey, heb je je opdrachten wel gemaakt of zo?
I think when the teachers would just post all the work at once, and they just like give us everything at once, and then we had to do it during the week. Like for me, I would try get it finished as fast as possible, so then I wouldn't really concentrate or like pay attention to what we're actually learning. Like I think in science we're learning about like 2 new chapters, and I just flew through because I wanted to get the work done, so I didn't actually take in any of the stuff we were learning.
Pues yo creo que, no sé, ahí no tuve bueno, alguna vez sí tuve gran problema con los exámenes porque no me iba, pero fue muy pocas veces, que no iba la conexión y teníamos examen y no me dejaba conectarme.
Hoe een normale dag eruit zag bij mij, in lockdown, was leuk. Ik vond dat leuk, maar tegelijkertijd, ik was keihard aan het uitstellen. Elke dag, ik dacht zo van ja, dat is online en die testen gaan ook niet zo moeilijk zijn, omdat die online zijn. Dus ja, ik ga gewoon morgen maken. Dus ik vond die testen heel makkelijk, eigenlijk. Als ik een combinatie van lockdown en les op school krijgen willen maken, dan zou ik online les wel kiezen, maar testen en taken op school komen afleggen. Voor mij is het heel slecht online en alles, omdat ik een uitsteller ben.
Yeah, well, towards the start more, there was like kind of no real timetable. So sometimes you'd have like, I remember one time there was 2 Zoom classes at once, and like I can't be in 2 places at once. So yeah, it was kind of challenging at the start.
It was kind of like, well, for me anyway, I woke up like 5 minutes before the class started. We'd have like a timetable, and then you'd wake up, get dressed quickly, try and look as natural as possible. Like the camera was fairly close to you, so it didn't really feel like a class at the start, because your face is so close to the Zoom camera that it really doesn't feel natural. And then you kind of go through the classes. Like at the start, we didn't have kind of a great timetable because the classes would almost overlap. Like they'd finish at like say 8:45, or they start at 8:45, go to 9:45. Then the next class starts at 9:45, so you don't get like a break until we actually get a break at like 11, I think.
Challenges, distractions.
Ja, in de klas heb je natuurlijk wel het fysieke contact met de medeleerlingen en de leerkracht. Waardoor dat het eigenlijk makkelijker is om op te letten. Want natuurlijk, thuis heb je meer afleidingen van bijvoorbeeld, ik weet niet, ik had mijn kat die rondliep bijvoorbeeld, of familie die dan, omdat je dan toch thuis bent, die dan komen vragen met iets om te helpen of zo. Of
it sounds kind of weird, like the environment, like you're not used to it. Like I did most of my work in my room because I had like a desk there, but it was so unnatural. Like normally when you're in your room, it's kind of like to chillax, chill down. Whereas in school, you're there to learn, so you focus in harder. Yeah. So it was definitely more difficult to try and bring like hard work into a relaxed environment.
So I'd like wake up like 15 minutes before my class, which is good because I got to sleep in for a while. And then I'd get ready and go to my first class. And like the whole day I'd just be kind of at the same desk. And then, school would end and I'd take a break and then I'd just kind of go back to the same desk and finish homework. So it was like it was definitely very different to school because I was in the same like space the whole time. And that I found that a bit hard to concentrate on some things.
Well, normally I wake up like really early, but during lockdown, I would only wake up for my classes, and I'd still be in my pajamas, and I'd just open up my iPad and be like, "Hey, everybody," so it was pretty chill. I'd just do it like in my bedroom and eat while I'm in class. I know I probably shouldn't have done that, because it was a bit distracting, but I did it anyway because I'm hungry. Well, since I was at home, I'm very comfortable in my bedroom, and I found I was getting easily distracted and I could get away with being distracted. I had multiple screens in my room, so I could be watching Netflix on one screen and pretending to pay attention in class on the other.
Ik heb bijvoorbeeld makkelijke wekken onderschat en die waren uiteindelijk heel moeilijk geworden op het einde. En ik heb die niet kunnen halen en dat is een spijt en dat is jammer. Ik kon die halen, die waren heel makkelijk, maar ik heb mij niet zelf kunnen disciplineren. Dat is een disciplinetekort. Ja, ik ben die wekken nu opnieuw aan het volgen hier op school en ik denk dat gaat heel beter. Motivatie zoeken wanneer je niet naar school komt is onmogelijk. Omdat je thuis zit in je kamer waar je heel veel andere mogelijkheden hebt om andere dingen te doen. Bijvoorbeeld, ik ben iemand die heel graag tekent. Dus ik had mijn spulletjes die naar mij kijken en zo. Wil jij echt die huiswerk maken? Ik wil gewoon knutselen en zo. Ik heb wel in mijn kamer kunnen studeren en dat was rustig. Maar bijvoorbeeld als ik in mijn vorige huis ging lockdown meemaken, dan had ik wel heel veel moeite. Want toen had ik geen slaapkamer en met die lawaai en thuis en dat alles is niet makkelijk.
The most challenging part about it was that the Wi-Fi would go down because everyone was trying to use it, and then you'd have to try figure out a way to explain to your teacher that you weren't able to join the class because your Wi-Fi went, and then everybody was walking in and out of the room as well. So it was a bit distracting too.
Definitely just sitting down on a Zoom call for an hour, taking notes, just listening to the teacher, because I'd get distracted or I'd doze off because I'd just be bored, like I wasn't like interacting with anyone.
Now pause again and ask yourselves, did any of the challenges these students talked about surprise you? Was there anything you expected to hear that was not there? Tell us what you think in the session collaboration document. Enablers, clear structures, routines and goals.
It was pretty stressful as nobody really knew what they were doing. Nobody knew how to use like Zoom and Google Meets. And because we were based off our old timetable, it was pretty hectic. So it was classes overlapping and stuff like that. And it was all just disorganized.
And how did you handle that?
I struggled a little bit with it, but after a while I managed to get into the rhythm of getting the work done on time and making it to classes on time. We had an actual timetable, so it was a bit easier to make it to classes on time, but some of the classes were shortened. And the lunch was also shortened as well, which made it really hard to make lunch in time for the next class.
I think they sorted it out much better then. Like they kind of knew what to do this time, and there was a better plan. Like we had like a timetable as well. That was nice to follow. And then you'd have like they put it in breaks as well that you could, and like study periods as well. And then also keeping like a timetable and like planning out my day and like having a list of like when all the homework is due. That was really helpful for me. With like lists of what I need to do and when I need to do it. I think a lot of teachers are now posting all the work on Schoology. Like after we finished it in class, then they will say what we did in class. But before then, it would kind of be you'd be asking people and they wouldn't be in, and then you weren't really sure of what you had to do or like what work you missed. But now it's much easier because it's all on Schoology.
Nada, yo me levantaba, me conectaba a mis clases, que eran hasta las 2:30, y nada, luego estaba aquí con mi familia, hacía deporte, jugaba al ordenador y nada, y estaba con mi familia.
Dus mijn boeken verplaatste ook nooit. Ik had ook gewoon mijn orde. En als ik nu mijn boeken moet verplaatsen om op en af te rijden, soms vergeet ik mijn papieren. Soms gaan papieren stuk in mijn boekentas of zo.
I like it when like the teachers post all the work on Schoology, which is like the communication thing that we use, because it's all in one place. It's not always organized because that depends on the teacher, but it's all easy to find. Whereas like before lockdown, they would just be handing out pieces of paper, and if you weren't in, you didn't get that paper and you might lose it. So
I found it easier because I knew what was expected and I knew like what I had to do, kind of thing.
Pues al principio cuando empezó, centrarme y hacer todas las tareas seguidas y también organizarme hasta que me organicé también me costó mucho.
Wel geleerd dat ik beter moet plannen eigenlijk en mijn productieve momenten moet inzetten. Want ja, ik was toen eigenlijk vaak ook heel lang bezig aan taken, omdat ik totaal niet productief was. Dus bijvoorbeeld voor zo'n simpele opdracht dat ik daar dan toch wel een half uur of zo over deed. Terwijl dat eigenlijk in werkelijkheid, als je echt je eraan zet, dat maar 5 à 10 minuutjes zou moeten duren. Dus dat ik eigenlijk heel veel uitstelgedrag had en dat ik dat nu eigenlijk wel heb geleerd om dat wat meer, om mijn tijd wat beter in te delen. Omdat tijdens die periode dat ik ook zoveel bezig was met schoolwerk, dat kwam eigenlijk omdat ik heel traag werkte. Dus.
But then they kind of put all the work on Schoology, so it was kind of handy to have it all in one place. And like we were doing Zoom calls and well, I felt like having everything in the one place because we had like all the Schoology pages set up before the like lockdowns and COVID, and just having everything in one place instead of having it all over the place, and all the links for the Zoom calls and everything was just put up on Schoology, and like any assignments you had to submit were just put onto Schoology, so it's good.
Well, my mum was very adamant on still getting up at the same time, trying to keep the routine. So I still got up at like 7:30 and then did my stuff and then got ready for school. It's a lot more better because like we had a fully fleshed out timetable, because sometimes last year you had your timetable be kind of mixed, so you have a class at the same time that another class was going on, but we had actually a full timetable that was like given to you. It wasn't just random times.
Bueno, más que nada llevar las cosas al día y tal. No, o sea, motivación como tal no.
Wel, ik startte mijn dag met fitnessen thuis, wat ik wel een van de meest gezonde periodes van mijn leven was. Dan begonnen mijn online lessen rond 9 uur meestal. Ik volgde die tot lesuren gedaan waren. Dan maakte ik meestal mijn oefeningen. Zelfde dag nog, wat ik nu tegenwoordig ook niet meer doe. Ik had echt een heel goede structuur en ik merkte dat dat heel goed marcheerde voor mij. Dat ik nooit eigenlijk naar school moest komen, tijd verliezen om op en af te gaan. En dat vond ik wel echt heel belangrijk.
I think initially, like, it was like this kind of almost fun, exciting thing. We're thinking we're getting 2 weeks off. And then the novelty kind of weared out. And it was like, I think, a lot of like unknown and uncertainty. But I think a lot of it was trying to stick to routine.
Enablers, flexibility.
Pues no madrugar tanto, hacer los trabajos con los compañeros y ir así un poco más a mi ritmo. Porque, claro, como no dimos nada en la mayoría de asignaturas, pues tenía más tiempo para hacer las cosas tranquilamente y a mi ritmo. Y bueno, algunos días me quedaba tiempo libre, más que antes de la cuarentena.
Meestal begonnen nog altijd de lessen om 9:10, zoals wanneer wij naar school kwamen. Dus ik vond het dan wel gemakkelijk dat ik eigenlijk mijn kinderen nog op tijd naar school kon brengen. En dat ik eigenlijk in plaats van zo die stress te hebben van ik moet in het verkeer gaan staan, ik moet in de file gaan staan, dat ik gewoon kon thuiskomen en zeggen van oké, ik zet mijn eigen neer, ik kan nog rap een boterham eten, een koffie of zo drinken, nog rap iets doen of zo. En dat was voor mij veel rustgevender eigenlijk, zal ik zeggen. En ja, en zo verliep dan eigenlijk helemaal een dag veel minder stress en zo. Dat was echt wel, ja. Bijvoorbeeld voor mij is het gemakkelijk met mijn kinderen om dat te combineren. Eigenlijk bijvoorbeeld vorig jaar heeft mijn zoon hersenvliesontsteking gehad en heb ik 3 weken niet naar school kunnen komen, maar ik kon ook niet op afstand voortdoen. En dat was voor mij wel zoiets van, allee, kom aan, we hebben dat onlangs gedaan. Ik zit in het ziekenhuis, ik raak niet weg, maar ik kan best wel vanuit het ziekenhuis wel mijn werk doen. Dus, en dat vind ik wel zoiets van, zeker vooral zit op lange termijn ziek of afwezig door je kinderen of zo, dat er wel een overbrugging is van, ja, dat je gewoon verder kunt eigenlijk.
¿Y lo que más te gustó?
Que podía hacerlo a mi ritmo. O sea, a mi ritmo dentro del plazo, pero por ejemplo por la mañana no tenía que madrugar o cosas así, y entonces cuando tenía ratos o quería descansar y tal, como que estaba más a mi bola y hacía las cosas cuando yo quería.
Ik was een heel grote voorstander van de flexmodules, dat uiteindelijk gewoon zelfstudie was. En als je vragen had, kon je altijd bij de leerkracht terecht. Je had ook opdrachten dat je moest maken. En bij elk hoofdstuk kreeg je een test dat je moest zelf aanvragen bij de leerkracht. En voor mij was dat de perfecte soort van studeren.
Enablers, multiple means of representation.
Bij het geven van de lessen hadden de leerkrachten meestal een PowerPoint of zo voorbereid natuurlijk. Die ze dan gaven, en daar gaven ze wat extra uitleg bij. Ja, het was natuurlijk aan te raden dat je erbij waart tijdens de lessen, omdat de leerkrachten dan extra uitleg gaven bij de PowerPoint. Maar de PowerPoint werd nog nadien op Moodle, het online leerplatform, gezet. Vaak zei de leerkracht op het einde van de les dat er nog een taak of zo was. En dan kon je die ook vrij makkelijk terugvinden op het platform. Ja, ik vond het gewoon makkelijker dat grote stukken van de leesstof gewoon online werden gezet, in plaats van dat dat alleen maar tijdens de les werd getoond.
I really liked the teachers who did like Kahoots, and kind of and there was a lot of different resources. Everyone would be posting loads of different like links for like live streams or like Google Meets you could go to learn about new things. I think that was also during TY because we were doing a lot of different courses and stuff like that.
I like it better when teachers like use presentations, like photos, slides that I can take down, because if they're just sitting there and like talking and talking and talking, I can't take notes like that, personally anyway. So it's easier for me to have something like to work off of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Lessen werden vooral via een video gevolgd. Wat ik minder erg vond dan naar school komen natuurlijk. Het is altijd makkelijker om gewoon rustig in je zetel met je laptop voor je en dan je lessen te volgen.
I feel like most of the things that they did online are still used today, like using Schoology, sometimes using meetings with Google Meets and Zoom, and I would like if they had more classes where we did Kahoots and stuff like that.
Nosotros estábamos con videollamadas y era bastante difícil, pero sobre todo me ayudaba de internet buscando cosas y con los libros poco a poco pues era más fácil, pero se complicaban las clases porque normalmente o se cortaba o no se escuchaba bien o pues eso es lo que he dicho antes, buscar en internet sobre todo algunos vídeos de YouTube por si no entendía algo, lo buscaba. Y en general para estudiar pues los libros. Pues sobre todo entender algunas cosas de matemáticas porque encima yo entraba en la ESO, era un cambio y no entendía algunas cosas y tenía que buscarlas en YouTube porque explicarlas otra vez de forma online era difícil.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of do more tech, like things to do with like technology. So we do like more Kahoots or like there's these things called Lookits, and like even assignments now. Like I would be posting more assignments on Schoology rather than handing in paper, which I feel is much like better because like you don't lose paper, you don't lose like the actual assignments. Like.
And can I ask you a little bit about those? You said Kahoot and another kind of.
Yeah, it's Lookit.
So what does that bring to your class that perhaps wasn't there before?
It's kind of like bringing everyone together. So like there's kind of a bit of like it's kind of competitive. So you kind of want to be like getting the answers right, and like it's much more engaging than just like sitting there and listening to a teacher talk. And like I feel it really helps you learn like more.
And was there anything like you mentioned there, Lookits and Kahoots? Like what did they do for you to make you engage with school a little bit more?
Just made learning at home a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because like you'd be listening to a teacher and you get say a message from your friend saying, like you just be joking about the Kahoot, like geez, I'm fourth on the Kahoot. It'd be pretty funny.
Right, you can slag each other off about how bad you're doing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Enablers. Human contact.
Er waren leerkrachten die dat echt zeiden van oké, we hebben les van 10 voor 9 tot 20 na 12 met een pauze ertussen. En andere leerkrachten die zeiden van oké, ik ga de volledige uitleg doen en daarna moet je zelfstandig alles doen eigenlijk. En als je dan vragen hebt, mocht je dan mailtjes sturen of zo, of via Zoom afspreken. Dus dat hangt eigenlijk een beetje van leerkracht tot leerkracht af. Wij hebben altijd afgesproken via Zoom. En dan moesten we... de leerkracht die deelde dan eigenlijk haar beeld. En dan zo kon wij dan, want wij waren meestal toch wel met een aantal, dan eigenlijk alles mee volgen en eigenlijk weer dan eigenlijk tot alles in detail uitgelegd. Sommige leerkrachten waren ook wel moeilijker bereikbaar. Misschien omdat die dan zelf bezig waren met andere dingen. Je weet het natuurlijk niet. Ik heb ook leerkrachten gehad die dat positief waren, dus ja, dan verandert het ook weer allemaal. Maar ja, dat de leerkrachten wel beter bereikbaar zijn. Dan, als je echt aan vast zit, dan werd het wel moeilijk natuurlijk. Er zijn sommige dingen dat ik volledig zelf uiteindelijk heb opgelost. Dat ik zoiets had van oké, laat die mail, maar het lukt, het is gelukt en ik kan verder. Maar ja, er zijn soms waren echt momenten dat ik echt dagen op een mail moest wachten.
I think the constant link on Schoology is in there was constantly different resources being put up on Schoology. be it Zoom classes or even some teachers like just generally sending you a message asking you how you're getting on with school, but also in general about lockdown. It was kind of nice to know that teachers were mindful of us, and then that was the main thing, kind of just linking with teachers and then obviously friends online as much as possible.
The teachers were very supporting and the online meetings we were provided with were very helpful. All of our teachers were really supporting, but my parents were the people who helped me the most and reminded me that I had to keep trying and never give up.
Vaak zei de leerkracht op het einde van de les dat er nog een taak of zo was. En dan kon je die ook vrij makkelijk terugvinden op het platform. Vragen voor de leerkracht vaak heb ik dan gewoon tijdens de Zoom eigenlijk op het einde gewoon nog tijdens de les dus op het einde gewoon nog mijn vraag kunnen stellen. Maar ja, als ik nog een vraag had bijvoorbeeld die ik tegenkwam tijdens het maken van de opdracht, dan stuurde ik eigenlijk gewoon een mailtje naar de leerkracht. Ja, over het algemeen was dat ook vrij snel. Op een weekdag bijvoorbeeld was dat soms zelfs nog de dag zelf en anders was de dag nadien dat ik gewoon een mailtje kreeg. Dus.
I know most people like think everything online will be a lot better, but like I'd like this being in school. I need to see a teacher to help me, and then that's really just it. Like you need to have a teacher there to help when you're doing work.
And were the teachers communicating with you?
Yeah, a good few teachers were, because I have the dyslexia, and like most teachers know that I'm very bad with it. And Mr. O'Hara actually helped me a good bit. He said, "Josh, if you want, I'll help you with your English project at the time."
Although the whole situation seemed to be pessimistic, I was motivated by my family and friends. I really hoped that one day I would be again at school with my friends and classmates, and I was pretty sure that everything was about to go better.
They kind of like, for our school anyway, I had a few teachers that were like messaging in, like checking in, see how we're doing, like I guess physically and mentally, like making sure we are going outside using the one exercise we can. And like, yeah, that's kind of it, like just helping us.
To be honest, my friends and relatives helped me, motivated me through quarantine, although I had many hard days and thought I had no one to support me. However, I tried to find hope and never give up.
Yeah, like a lot of the projects that we have to do with people in your class was so much more better. Like if you got in a good group of your friends, you just got to make a really good and funny project. It's just a lot of fun. Really, just a routine and doing project, like just doing schoolwork helped a lot. Like say as the projects helped a good bit, because like you're constantly doing them because you're talking to your friends about them and just like how can you make this better and all that.
Alles gebeurde via Moodle, onze platform. Leerkrachten stuurden regelmatig mails en bleven in contact met ons. Als ik een vraag had voor de leerkracht, dan was het heel gemakkelijk. Leerkrachten hadden periodes wanneer ze online bleven, tijdens normale lesuren. Dan kun je die direct contacteren en je kreeg ook normaal gezien direct een antwoord op. Als dat buiten de lesuren was, stuur je een mail naar de leerkracht en je kreeg zeker tegen volgende dag ten laatste een antwoord.
Once I started getting the hang of it and like realized that, they're always going to be like checking up on us, I kind of relaxed a bit and it was a bit easier.
Definitely the games, Kahoots and YouTube videos and like group projects. I found it hard to transition from being in classes with my friends to sitting on Zoom calls all day and not being able to socialize or see my friends. Definitely like Kahoots and YouTube videos, just trying to interact with the class breakout rooms. Sometimes they didn't work that well, the breakout rooms, but the teachers did try to like interact with us and let us interact with our friends on Zoom. And those things kind of kept me motivated to join the Zoom calls because I knew it just wasn't going to be listening to the teacher taking notes for a whole hour. It was kind of doing games or quizzes and things like that just to keep us interacted with everyone. Like we would do projects on breakout rooms. Definitely now I think in school we're doing more stuff in groups and more games. We're still learning through them. We're just making it a bit more fun because we obviously missed interacting with everyone during that time. So it's nice now that sometimes we did it in breakout rooms and on Zoom it's nice to bring that into the classroom and be able to socialise with my friends while also learning at the same time.
Now, pause again and ask yourselves, did any of the enablers these students talked about surprise you? Was there anything you expected to hear that was not there? Tell us what you think in the session collaboration document. We asked these students to talk about their learning experiences at a difficult time in their lives. They met a number of barriers and challenges to learning during emergency remote schooling. Worry, anxiety and uncertainty. Changes in workload and the pressures associated with that. Dealing with structures that were not well designed for a remote schooling context. And managing distractions while working from home and including working from their bedrooms and managing learning outside of the structured school environment. These barriers can exist at any time for learners, but they were particularly difficult during emergency remote schooling. The students talked about what they found useful and helpful during this time also. Without being prompted, they told us some of the principles of UDL that were effective for them. Having clear goals, structures and routines, supporting executive functions and minimising distractions by establishing clear learning goals and providing clear structure and clarity to facilitate planning and managing information. Allowing flexibility in where and when and sometimes how students could progress their learning. Providing multiple means of representation, offering students new modes and sources for accessing content and developing comprehension. Teachers facilitated personal coping skills and strategies by staying personally connected and checking in with students. They also fostered community and collaboration between students to help them engage with learning remotely. This video showcases what 16 European learners felt helped them during emergency remote schooling. Things that we can maintain and sustain now we are back in school. Now, what might you do next? Well, have you asked any of your students what they want to keep from their experience of remote emergency learning? There is still time to ask. Show them some of our students in this video to prompt discussion. What did you find helpful? Is there anything you think we were doing better back then? Tell us what we can take from that time too. Or if you are still working with students online, is there one thing you could do to provide them with clearer structure and goals? Maybe just adding a few lines to your course materials to make sure the goals are clear. Or making sure you have the full course schedule, deadlines and timelines clearly laid out somewhere easy to find. And what one small thing could you do to build some more human connection into their learning experience? Maybe it's a voice memo to all students or some short voice feedback on their latest assignment, just to keep things personal. Maybe it is to make sure you have breakout room icebreakers or short activities at intervals in the learning experience so they can meet their fellow learners. Or maybe it's adopting cooperative learning methodologies to make sure your group activities really help build community in a sustained way. We would love to hear from you in the collaborative document on the UDL Symposium page. Tell us what is your key takeaway from this video, or what one small change you might do now in your own teaching. Students know what works for them, and it's about time for us to listen. Many thanks from Anne Devitt and Joanne Banks in the School of Education in Trinity College, Dublin, in Ireland.